Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a really intimate look at something deeply personal, our finances. And I don't just mean the cold, hard numbers sitting in a spreadsheet. I'm talking about how those numbers actually make us feel on a day-to-day basis. This completely challenges the default setting of modern life. Have you ever actually stopped to think if your financial goals are, making you happy? Well, we're going to unpack a profound realization today that might literally change the way you look at your bank account forever. Okay, let's dive into this. At the absolute emotional core of today's analysis is this incredibly powerful realization from the author. They wrote, "I realized I didn't want to be rich. I want to be at peace." Man, think about how powerful that distinction is. For a long time, the author admits to just saying, "I want more money." And sure, that was true. But when you dig deeper, when you peel back the layers of that desire, the money itself wasn't actually the end goal. It was just the vehicle they thought they needed to get to the real destination.
And that brings us right to the illusion of the money chase. It's this shared myth that almost all of us, the author included, have totally bought into at some point. We are constantly bombarded with this idea that the absolute answer to our problems is just more money. We tell ourselves, hey, if I just hit this arbitrary number, everything's going to fall into place and my life will be perfect.
So what does that chase actually look like? It's intense. It's a higher salary, faster growing investments, reaching a point where you do fewer mental calculations before buying something. It's a rat race, isn't it? We run, we hustle, we constantly refresh our banking apps, we chase that next promotion. We just want to swipe our cards without doing mental gymnastics at the checkout counter. It's an exhausting sprint on a treadmill that literally never stops, and it keeps our minds buzzing with numbers and percentages, and frankly, a lot of financial anxiety.
But let's just slow down for a second. Take a breath. If we strip away all those surface-level desires, the luxury, the expensive cars, the perfect life meticulously curated for social media, what do we actually find underneath all of that? The true objective is peace. It's safety. The author explicitly points out that they didn't actually dream of luxury or flexing online. What we're actually craving, at our very core, is just that feeling of deep, unwavering security. So, what does that peace actually look like in real life? Well, first and foremost, it means sleeping better. It means waking up and going about your day without that silent, lingering stress of the end-of-the-month's bills. Just think about that phantom weight that sits on your chest when you know the invoices are coming due and you aren't exactly sure how the math is going to work out. True peace? That's the complete absence of that midnight dread.
And here is a hugely relatable marker of peace. No panic when something breaks. True wealth is knowing that if the washing machine suddenly gives out or the car unexpectedly needs a repair, it's not going to cause a full-blown financial panic attack. I mean, sure, it's an inconvenience. It's super annoying, but it's not a crisis that threatens your family's fundamental safety or completely derails your entire month.
It also means taking trips without 2 solid weeks of calculations. The author shares this amazing, highly relatable anecdote about just wanting to freely say yes to a weekend excursion with the kids without needing to run budget scenarios on a spreadsheet for a fortnight beforehand. It's the freedom to create a spontaneous memory right then and there without the heavy, restrictive math totally overshadowing the fun.
So the crucial point is we deeply, deeply crave the ability to spend without feeling guilty for every single penny. Because that guilt, that's the exact opposite of peace. When every dollar you spend feels like a major compromise, a sacrifice, or a risk, you're essentially a prisoner to your finances. And that's true regardless of how much you actually make on paper. Removing that guilt, that is what true financial freedom actually feels like.
And that brings us to a really fascinating paradox that completely shatters the original myth we were talking about earlier, the paradox of wealth and peace. Society basically hardwires us to believe that money automatically equals peace of mind, right? Like it's a straight line. More money equals fewer worries. But if we look out into the real world, we actually see something entirely different.
And this brilliantly illustrates that exact observation. I mean, we all know people who are incredibly wealthy, with massive bank accounts way larger than our own, yet they are permanently anxious. They're constantly stressed about losing what they have or desperately trying to acquire even more. But conversely, there are people who aren't rich by any traditional societal standard, but they live their lives with this profound, quiet peace that a lot of high earners honestly secretly envy.
So, if the actual numbers in the bank don't guarantee that feeling of safety, what is the ultimate differentiator? Well, it's your relationship with money. It's the psychological framework you use to interact with your finances. It's not the absolute number, it's how you relate to it. You could have 2 people with the exact same income, but they have completely different levels of happiness and stress, based entirely on this relationship. Once the author stopped chasing wealth just for the sake of wealth and actually started seeking peace, everything shifted. They stopped running tirelessly after every single opportunity. They stopped feeling that exhausting need to prove their success to anyone else. And most importantly, they stopped measuring their success strictly in numerical figures. Instead, they developed a brand new filter for their financial decisions.
I want you to really pause for a moment and ask yourself this question. Does this decision bring me more peace or more agitation? Imagine actually applying this powerful new filter to your own life, starting tomorrow. Before you take on that extra stressful project at work, or before you buy that expensive item you don't really need just to impress people you don't really like, ask yourself, does it bring you peace or just more agitation?
When you actively apply this filter, the practical changes to your daily financial behavior are honestly surprising. Like the author notes, big flashy expenses that once seemed so critically important, they suddenly lost their meaning. Meanwhile, small savings, just having that little buffer in the bank, became incredibly valuable because they literally buy you peace of mind. And some of those financial goals you thought you absolutely had to hit, they just disappeared completely from the radar.
Let's move to and see how this builds a new, much healthier baseline regarding personal wealth. We have to fundamentally reframe how we view the cash itself. In this new paradigm, money isn't the master anymore. It's not the finish line. It is simply an instrument. It's just a wrench or a hammer in your toolbox.
Now let's be super clear here, and it's absolutely crucial to emphasize this. It is completely normal to want to earn more. Earning money isn't a bad thing at all. But the vital key to remember is that money is no longer the end goal. It's a tool. Peace is the true goal. You use the tool of money to build the house of peace. If the tool is destroying the house, well, you're using it wrong.
And we'll end on this incredibly thoughtful final note from the author, which perfectly encapsulates everything we've talked about today. I don't want a life where I have everything. I want a life where I enjoy what I have. Let that sink in for a moment. Look at your own life. Are you exhausting yourself on the treadmill trying to acquire absolutely everything? Or are you actively building a life where you have the peace to actually enjoy the present moment? What are you truly chasing? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll leave you with that thought to deeply reevaluate your own financial perspective.